Okay, hi guys, this is station number 5, and we're going to look at selective permeability. You read about selective permeability in the pre-lab, and you've probably seen it in a couple of the other stations. This one is going to look at selective permeability in and out of a simulated membrane. Now, all that you're provided with on this one is a set of instructions. The first step says to fill a plastic baggie with a teaspoon of cornstarch and a half a cup of water. Tie bag or dialysis tubing. So here's what we found out. The baggie took too long. So we're going to use dialysis tubing, and I don't believe we've used it this year. So what you need to do is inside of a container of water, you'll see these like little plastic tubes floating around. Okay, so you're going to pull one out. Now these have to stay wet. Once they start hardening up, they will get stiff. It will be hard to work with. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a little sausage out of it. So we're going to tie one end off. And so I have string. I just realized you can't see it because it's down low. Scissors. And here we go. Now it's going to tell you that you need 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, and then you're going to add water to it. But here's the deal. Because we're using these little tubes, it's going to be a little bit harder to get it in. And so I'm going to kind of make a suggestion. And I'll try to go back through and write it on the directions. Let me get this tied off first. So what I've done is I have just tied off as tight as I can one end. And I have to do it really tight, double knotted, so liquid doesn't go through the ends. This is a plastic tube. It's a plastic membrane, and it lets some stuff in and some out. It has really, really tiny openings, tiny microscopic openings. Now for the cornstarch and water, there's going to be a little plastic cup. If there's cornstarch and water, if it's a cloudy mixture in it, just use what's there. You don't have to make new stuff. But if there's not, you'll add a little bit of cornstarch. There's a spoon here. And a little bit of water. You have like this cloudy mixture. Cornstarch you probably see in your parents' cupboard at home. Okay, so here's the cornstarch water mixture. It's easier to make it in a separate container before putting it in. So now this is the way that dialysis tubing works. It's really flat and sealed up here. To get it on flat, you have to take your fingers and you rub it between your fingers, just back and forth for a couple moments, and you'll feel it start loosening up. And if you have any issues with this, just let me know and I will help you loosen it up here. There we go. Once it's loosened here and you can get the top end, what you can do is take the funnel. There's a funnel here, and you're going to put the funnel down into it. Make it easier to pour the solution in. So if you can see, I have the funnel, the tube, and go up as high as I can here. Make life easier. And make sure that you hold on to where the plastic and the funnel meet, so that way as you're pouring liquid through, it doesn't fall off. And then I'm going to slowly pour this in. And you'll know if your knot is not tight enough because it will start leaking through the bottom. And doesn't have to be too far up, 1 inch, 2 inches, that's all. Okay, but once you've got your solution in, you pull the funnel out. Now we're going to have to seal up the other end too. So I'm going to take another piece of string. It's best if you work with partners on this one. And I'm going to tie up the top here. So all I'm doing is sealing it up. Again, use a double knot and pull it as tight as you can. And if you want to follow along and pause the video while you're doing this, or while you're doing the actual thing, it might help. So now you have, I call them sausages. They're like the old school sausages that you see like hanging up at a butcher shop. Okay, and so now the next step is step 2, fill a beaker halfway with water and add 10 drops of iodine. Chances are there's already a beaker that looks kind of yellowish, kind of like stuff that you don't want to see in a classroom, only want to see in the restroom. This already has iodine in it. If you don't have one, you will need to set one up. Iodine is an indicator. We used it with the McMush lab. And what happens is it's like this yellowish color, but when starch is present, this big carbohydrate molecule, it's a large carbohydrate molecule, when it's present, it will turn purple. so you can find out where starch is because it will turn like this purplish black color. And so right now we have iodine and water in the beaker, and we have starch and water in here. And so the idea is we're going to see, can the iodine get to the starch, or can the starch come out and get to the iodine? So before we see the results, it's going to tell you to place the baggie, step 3, in the cup so that the cornstarch mixture is submerged in the iodine water. Okay, so you just let it rest like this. It says to wait 15 minutes. During the 15 minutes, what you're going to need to do is a couple things. Step 1, you're going to make some predictions at here, okay? If the baggie was permeable to starch, which way would the starch move? Into or out of the bag? So permeable means it lets it go through. It's able to go through. So if this baggie right here is permeable to starch, which way would it go? Would the starch go from the baggie outside, or would the starch go from the outside water into the baggie? Okay, so you'll have to predict the direction, in or out of the baggie. And number 2, if the baggie was permeable to iodine, which way would the baggie move, or which way would the iodine move? So what that means is if iodine's able to move in and out of this baggie, would the iodine go into the baggie or out of the baggie? So you have to think about where it starts. Where it starts, and thanks to diffusion, where is it going to go? You'll record the initial colors down here of each substance, and then at the end you'll record the final colors, and then you're going to write a conclusion at the bottom. What did you learn from this? This takes about 15 minutes to set though. And so if you have time, what you can do is make sure that you wipe down, clean up this area. I have paper towels. I also have wipes because the cornstarch is kind of sticky. And you can go work on another lab, another station if you have time. One last warning here. When you put the cornstarch in, here's the deal. You want to make sure it stays in the baggie. If you have cornstarch at the top here, you may want to rinse it out with water and then pat it dry, or make sure that the part where you poured it in does not hit the iodine water, okay? Because that might affect your results. And if it does, if you're worried that it is, just let me know and I'll come check it for you. Make sure that the station is cleaned up. This one can be a messy one, so make sure it's cleaned up before you leave to the next station, okay? Thank you.